Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we'll be glamming up my beautiful bride, who is also my namesake. Her name is Chisom. She had a traditional wedding and we were part of it. So let's glam her up. To begin, I started with the micellar water to clean off her face. I did this in her house, so hence the background is not familiar with the background, you guys know. So I make sure I take out all the dirt on her face, leaving it really clean and dry. Went to it with the green tea setting spray. This is like my favorite hydrating spray. It's also a setting spray, but it hydrates the skin, and I love what it does to the skin for me. So next, I just use my hand to blend it into her skin. Just make sure everything is well blended. And next, I'm using my advanced nail mucin as a serum. This is a serum, so this is what I'm using on her skin. So I'm just applying that all over her skin and blending. So when I do that, I apply that with a brush, and in most cases I just use my hand because I feel like my hand does the job for me. Not like I just know that my hand does a better job for me, and I make sure my hands are washed before doing that. Next, I went ahead to moisturize the lip. You guys always moisturize the lip because it's part of your face. Then next, I'm using this completely oil-free moisturizer, Olay moisturizer. She has an oil skin, so we're doing skin prepping her skin for an oil skin. So if you are working on a client or a bride, it's very important you know their skin type before you start prepping. Just ask them their skin type before you start prepping, so you know what you are doing. Next, I am using my Power Seal from Mismetic. This is an oil control and sweat control tonic. I use this for every skin type, only on the T-zone, especially for brides, because she is going to be everywhere. She's the star of the show. She is the main, like the main character, so she's going to be everywhere, and definitely she's going to sweat and she's going to be stressed. So we're just securing her T-zone where she tends to bring out much oil. Next, I went ahead all over her skin with the Stay Matte Rimmel London Stay Matte. This is a mattifying primer, but it's not as dry as other mattifying primers, so I use it all over her skin just to secure the oil around that part, any oil that might pop out. Then on her T-zone, I'm using my favorite mattifying primer, the Gentle Dove. This is the mattifying primer I use all the time. This is equal to Becca. I say this in almost all my video. If your Becca has finished and you don't have where to buy, you don't have access to getting a new Becca, just go for this Gentle Dove. This is the best mattifying primer in the market. So I do that on her T-zone, also her brow area, because I also want a mattifying brows. So for her foundation, I use this NARS and Huda Beauty for her foundation. So this foundation looked a bit bright for her skin type, but work with me, guys. Her skin, her neck, I was matching this foundation to her neck, but a bit lighter than what her neck looks like, because this foundation oxidizes, and I want her skin to, her face looks red while the undertone of every part of her body and her neck is kind of yellow. So I just matched it to her neck. So whenever you're working on the skin, just make sure you know what you're doing, you know the product you're using. So this is, I went for like a lighter shade because this foundation oxidizes and it gets darker. Though I went too light, that was a miss. I was supposed to go like half shade lighter, but I went like one shade lighter. But work with me, guys. We're going to correct this makeup together. We're going to correct this look together. So I went ahead to do her blush with my favorite palettes. I used the Eye Magic. I think this one I used this City's Beauty blush. Is a lip palette, but I like to use the pink in it for my blush, and this pink is just what is going to suit her very well. So I went ahead, took off the headband from the hair and just went with a darker shade on her forehead area to contour her forehead and the size of her face, just to bring it together. What I usually do most of the time is just bronzing. I don't like to use like the contouring shade, like dark contouring shade. I like to use a shade that just bronzes the face and bring everything together. So I do that also with a small brush on the hairline, because I don't want product to get on the hairline. If product gets on the hairline, it gets really tacky. So use like a small brush to blend that into her skin. So this is just basically what I was doing, just blending and blending. Photographers were in the background taking pictures. Of course, it's her wedding, so we're going to have people taking pictures and doing other things. So I went ahead with to highlight her under eyes which is I use the Kevin Coin concealer to do that, and I use very little quantity. When you're working with Kevin Coin concealer, you guys, please just use little quantity. You can always build up. If it's too much, you cannot reduce, but if it's too small, trust me, you can always add. So just build up and work with very little quantity. Just see how this foundation, just this concealer melts into her skin like butter, and her skin is coming in together. Her face still looks a little bit light, but work with me, guys, it's still oxidizing. By the time we finish makeup, you see the reason I went one shade brighter. This is her wedding, and her face was darker than her neck. If we had used the shade on her neck, trust me, you guys, sorry, the shade on her face, she's going to look darker and she's going to look tan. By the time she gets under the sun, she's going to look really dark. It will look like she's going to look like you kind of bring down her color. I don't know how to explain it, but just this is, you're going to see why I did this thing the way I did, why I went one shade lighter. Sorry, I was supposed to go half shade lighter, but I went one shade lighter, and that was a mistake. But half shade lighter is the best thing to do. So I just, contoured her nose area, the size of her nose, to bring it together. And when you contour the side of the nose, you see what it does to the face. It just brings the face together. So to set the concealer, the first thing I'm doing is blending under the eyes, then use a pressed powder to set his face before I go into this two powder mixture. This two powder mixture is the Laura Mercier setting powder, that's white color, is a translucent powder, and the Nuban Beauty setting powder in mustard. I just mixed it together. The Laura Mercier, they are both translucent powder, but the Nuban Beauty has a yellow undertone. That is why I used it. This just makes it really easy for me. So to intensify the contour on the bronzer, I use my Fenty Beauty powder in number 460. Yeah, 460. And I did that on the bridge of her nose and the sides of her face, just to intensify the bronzer. I'm doing that on the part where I already bronzed with a darker shade. So I like to do this with like a fluffy brush, because I don't want it to be precise. I don't like my products precise at all. I just like everything on the skin. So for all over her face, I'm going in with my Fenty Beauty powder in 360 and my melanin powder in the shade medium. I mixed it together. I always like to mix my things. Mixing my products does the job for me most of the time, because I just get to mix this shade and this undertone to get what I want. So this V Beauty blush palette, this is like my favorite blush palette for now. When I got it, I didn't like it because it was kind of a little bit tricky to use. Whenever I try to use it, it just it just gets precise and just there, that's just the word. But I got to figure out a way around it, and I discovered that using a fluffy brush makes it very better, and it's highly pigmented, so just pick very little quantity and build up. So for the eyes, we're going for a dark base, and for the dark base you have to use a dark base. It's better to start with a dark base if you'll be going for a dark base, instead of using like a white eyeshadow primer. And when you're going for a dark base, number one, it's not going to be as dark as, secondly, it's a lot of work for you, because once you already have a dark base, it just makes the work easier. So I was just basically blending and blending and blending. This was like a typical wedding day, so there was no time to show every single product I used. I was filming this look and also still trying to keep to time and make sure I don't eat into this client's time. So for her transition, I use orange and pink. The orange I use is from my nude palette by the art. The pink I use is from one of my palettes, the Color Studio palette. I mixed it together, and on her eyelid I applied the brown from my Juvia's Place palette. So after blending that, I smudged under her eyes the brown, of course. When on her lid, what I'm currently applying is the glitter stroke pigment glue. I allowed that get tacky, then I went ahead to apply this eyeshadow, this pigment that looks like red. It's kind of red, pink, ox blood, it's just there, but this was the look I was going for. And whenever you're applying pigment on the client's eyes, and you know that you've done the skin work already, just make sure you apply, then tap it out. I went ahead, applied this gold on top of it. This is the gold from Inglot. I applied it on top of the red, just to reduce the redness of the eyeshadow and just give me a different color. This was as the exact look I was going for, and I was happy I really achieved it. So after doing that, I like to go in with my fluffy brush, my eyeshadow blending fluffy brush, to just like a brown to blend and just make sure everything comes in place. Now I'm going to be placing in pigment. I use my hand to place the eyeshadow primer, sorry, the glitter glue, and I place this pigment on it. This pigment is from Lustre Cosmetics. So after doing that, time to line the eyes. Whenever I'm lining the eyes, I like to just lift up the eyes a little bit so I can get this very tiny liner. So if it's too tiny, I can always just intensify it, but if it's too big, obviously I cannot clean it, and it has already ruined my look. Even though it to look nice, but it already ruined the look I have in mind. So my mascara, the Sorosuke mascara by Nuban Beauty, this is currently my favorite mascara for now, until I find another thing, or I just don't know. But I don't think I'm going back on this mascara for now. So it just does the job. And before applying false lashes, I like to use mascara to take out excess fallout and put the lashes in place. See, false lashes makes a whole lot of difference. So that's the hairstylist styling the hair from behind. Like I said, it's a bridal job, so everybody's trying to do their job and still meet up to time. So for lining her lips, I use this brown from Nuban Beauty. I don't know the name or the number written on it, but I think this is like the only brown lipstick or lip stain they have. I hardly use lip pencils because I feel like I have my lip stain, so there is no need. But maybe in the future I'll start buying lip pencils, but for now I hardly use lip pencils. I have few lip pencils, but I barely use them. So after applying the brown, I make sure it's well blended, and I went ahead with this nude from my palette, from my Eye Magic palette, to apply inside her lips. I also applied the lip gloss, and I use the Supro lip stain in the shade Zara before applying the lip gloss. So this is just me blending her lips, and it's very easy when you're blending your client's lips and you tell them to smile. So it gets the lipstick, it gets the job done, and it gives like a very smooth lipstick application. So everything just looks really nice. So that's the word. Everything looks really nice, and it just gives like this smooth lipstick application. So done with that, I'm going to be highlighting under her eyes, just like basically blending under her eyes. And doing that, I'm using this MAC mineralized skin finish powder in the shade medium gold, just to do that. Cover her face to spray. The spray I'm using is the Melanin Make It Last spray. I let this dry for like almost completely, 95% or 98%, and I went ahead with my beauty sponge to blend everything into her skin. Went back with my Sorosuke mascara to blend under her eyes, just to like intensify, not blend under her eyes, intensify her lower lashes, so it looks really nice and look like every other just looks uniform and looks coordinated. Done with that, I just went ahead to apply this pink highlighter from Supro. It's not like a precise highlighter, it's a sparkle that just it's just there on your face. It looks like it's not there, but when you look, you see that okay, there is something there, because of course this is a bride. We need this bride to glow. We need that to glow. When she comes out, you know that okay, this is a bride. And you guys, this is the finished look. Let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial. This was when her accessories came on. Please do not forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you're yet to, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.